Welcome to Chaos Merchants. Pretty interesting what we've been seeing lately, and one thing for sure that we've been seeing is that there has been a confession for the murder of Tupac. And isn't that great? Wow, all of a sudden, everything is solved. And two of the former corrupt cops have been celebrating. Hey, look, we have somebody who's confessed to the murder of Tupac. And of course, he confesses in a way that he's not implicated. You know, I buried myself in the car while the shooting went on because I was afraid. And then he saw Tupac reaching for a gun, and that's why he shot. And you know, the whole thing. Typical bullshit coming to us from two corrupt cops. Now, we know we can't really take this seriously because when you look at Chaos Merchants took the eyewitness testimony and lined it all up. And you can see from the footnotes where every single fact came from. And you can now line it up, ask yourself if this confession lines up with the facts of the case. Now, these facts don't change, but one thing you can see is that the two corrupt cops' narrative keeps changing because they're trying to push things away from the LAPD that was in Las Vegas at the time this all happened. All the Rampart scandal cops were there. Reggie was there. The whole school play that happens at the MGM is there. And so we see that it's nothing more than a morphing of the official LAPD cover-up. Now, let's dig in to Tupac while he was at the hospital. And I want to talk specifically about Tupac and Snoop.
I back you down like Shaq Daddy and bust on you out the new caddy and skirt up Wilshire Boulevard.
If Tupac and Snoop were so close, why didn't Snoop drop everything and go rushing to the hospital to come see his buddy in the hospital? Day 1, day 2, day 3 even. Why is Snoop one of the last people to visit Tupac when he's alive? Why? If they're so close, if they're such good friends, if they were such good buddies, and if Snoop really wanted to be the person to induct Tupac into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, why didn't he go visit him sooner? I mean, it's just a question that we need to ask. So we have the first press conference that says that Tupac's not even in critical condition. And then the doctor comes out and he says that Tupac is expected to recover.
About 11:17 p.m. tonight, we had several vehicles traveling eastbound on Flamingo. Officers were at the Maxim Hotel investigating a stolen vehicle when they heard several gunshots being fired down below. They saw a caravan of about 5 cars that were traveling eastbound, heard the shots again. Approximately 12 to 13 shots were fired. The officers saw the black BMW followed by a black BMW station wagon and 3 other cars make a U-turn on Flamingo near the Maxim Hotel. They made a U-turn, proceeded westbound, coming onto Las Vegas Boulevard where they were driving very erratically. They radioed that they heard the gunfire and saw these vehicles traveling in such an erratic fashion. Other officers who were working the strip area were able to get the vehicles stopped here. As you see, the black BMW was traveling on the rims on the right side. Once they got here, they found that the passenger in the black BMW had been shot 4 times, and the driver appeared to be hit with a fragment in the head area. At this time, the wounds are life-threatening but serious, not in critical condition at this time. And the person, as you are already aware, who was the passenger in this vehicle is a known rap performer by the name of Tupac Shakur.
Tupac Shakur is in critical condition after 2 rounds of surgery in Las Vegas. He was shot several times over the weekend in a drive-by attack. Doctors say he will survive his 2nd shooting in 2 years. Drew Griffin of our Los Angeles station KCBS TV has more.
Hospital officials are not releasing much on the rapper's condition, but they do say Tupac Shakur is expected to live.
And think about the liability issues of saying that a celebrity is expected to recover and then that celebrity ends up dying. I mean, they don't come out and say somebody's expected to recover unless they're pretty certain that the celebrity is going to recover. And so that's another thing that tells us that Tupac was most likely finished off in the hospital.
I'm back with reporter Michael Leo and forensic criminologist Dr. Laura Petler unraveling the death of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. So when it comes to Tupac, no autopsy has been released. I'll say it again, there is no autopsy for us to look at. My team tried to obtain it, we couldn't. To me, I gotta say, it is sort of strange that he died 6 days after a gunshot wounds. Usually, if he's shot, you stop the bleeding,
right,
and then that's it. In his case, from what I'm being told indirectly, is he bled, but later. And I know he was trying to leave the hospital, so the whole thing is a bit strange.
He was sedated. He was in a sedated coma to keep him calm.
Now, a few doctors that I've spoken to talk about how easy it is to kill somebody while they're in the hospital. I mean, that IV drip is going directly into the bloodstream. Getting any kind of a toxin into that IV is fairly easy. Anybody that knows their way around a hospital room could easily do that. An overdose of oxytocin could easily cause a heart attack. And so it would have been fairly simple to kill Tupac in that hospital. And you think about the distraction that happened, Snoop shows up. We need 10 seconds to get in that hospital room and create, some kind of a problem with Tupac. And we look at the proficiency of this group with poisons. I mean, look at the Harry-O thing that's in Lydia Harris's documentary where Kenner shows up and gives him a 7-Up and he gets deathly ill from that. And look at the number of people that have had heart attacks and have died around this case. There are numerous people that have died of heart attacks. Russell Poole died of a heart attack. Afeni Shakur died of a heart attack. Nate Dogg died of a stroke. And Tupac dies of a heart attack. And he has 3 heart attacks. They revive him 3 times. And then finally Afeni says, pull the plug. Let him go. And they let him go. That's how Tupac dies. Snoop Dogg says he wanted to see his homie. He says he whispered into Tupac's ear and he felt like he got it. We heard "Got Him" come over the radio, and then we heard that Tupac was whispered to by Snoop, who said he got it. I wonder what that really means. Yo-Yo said that he knew who shot him. She was convinced that Tupac knew who shot him. And if that was the case, and he was going to come out of this coma and he was going to start pointing fingers and going after people, everybody that was involved wanted him dead. No question about it. And Nate Dogg was following behind Tupac. Nate Dogg was in the car. Nate Dogg is related to Little Half Dead. Little Half Dead's birthday happens to be the 13th. Can you imagine if Little Half Dead is the shooter? What a great birthday present this was for Little Half Dead to see Tupac Shakur die on his birthday. Why is it that the Compton PD always celebrates their reunion on the 13th of September? They have a reunion for the Compton Police. They celebrate their reunion on the 13th of September. In Las Vegas, usually. Nate Dogg was following behind. He said to Daz that Tupac and Suge were dead. We hear coming over Reggie Wright's radio, Michael Moore sitting next to him, here's "Got 'em." Doesn't that sound familiar? It sounds like the same story. "Got 'em" means Tupac and Suge are dead. Means more than one. That means Tupac and Suge. They were both targets that night. Not one being a target, both of them being a target. "Got 'em" refers to Tupac and Suge were both dead. And that's exactly what Nate Dogg tells Daz. He tells Daz, Tupac and Suge are dead. Eyewitnesses to the crime say that the shooter was very deliberate in his aim. He knew he was going after. Yakfullah says it was jealousy.
that he could tell that it was a jealousy motive for the shooter. Both Frank Alexander and Jörg Fuller talk about a dark black arm. Little Half Dead had a dark black arm, and Little Half Dead is dark black. And that fits with the eyewitness statements that we had that night. There were death threats that Tupac received while he was in the hospital, and those death threats sent the family members out to the outer perimeters guarding against an attack from outside, while the attack was actually going on the inside. Frank Alexander gets the phone call. He's called away. His phone is blown up by Reggie Wright Jr. There's 50 phone calls. Got to get over here. Big meeting over at Suge's, and that's when Snoop shows up after Frank Alexander skips out. Gobi mentions that hardly anybody was watching Tupac. Gobi also mentions that Reggie Wright Jr. was at the hospital. And was he at the hospital right when that all happened? No, he was at Suge's waiting for Frank Alexander, blowing up Frank Alexander's phone, clearing the way for something to happen to Tupac. Danny Boy sings A Change Is Gonna Come, and there's tears that stream down Tupac's face at hearing this song. So Tupac, even though he was unconscious, kind of had some kind of a knowledge of what was actually happening in the room. And when Snoop was there, bed shaking, the whole thing, he wanted to get out of there, and he couldn't get out of there. He was powerless to actually get himself out of the hospital. And we know he checked himself out of the hospital in the quad shooting. Something else very strange. The coroner's office is waiting for Tupac's autopsy. The vehicle is idling inside a warehouse portion where the shipping and receiving dock is at the hospital. The coroner's vehicle is idling, waiting for Tupac to die. His body is immediately wheeled out and taken to the coroner's, where he's rushed through his autopsy. Doesn't anybody find that strange? That the coroner's vehicle is waiting? Come on, that's very strange. So there's 3 different stories about when Snoop found out Tupac died. He says he found out with David Aaron in the studio. He says he found out while he was on the road. And he says he had a violent reaction when Tupac died. He was there. Which is it, Snoop? Why is there 3 different stories? Snoop was leaving Death Row Records. He tried to sign with Russell Simmons. Suge put an end to that. Then he tried to leave and go to Warner's. Suge put an end to that. Now, if there's somebody who's stopping you from doing something that you want to do, he's an obstacle and he's in the way, you got to remove the obstacle. Doesn't it make sense that they wanted to take out Suge Knight? And there was this huge rivalry with Tupac. Now you're going to have Tupac and Suge both in the car at the same time in the crosshairs. It makes sense that you take out Suge and Tupac that night. Trey D says that Snoop and his bodyguard went up to see Tupac. Okay, well, who was his bodyguard? His bodyguard is Kevin Gaines. Who's Kevin Gaines? He's an LAPD officer dating Sharitha Knight, and he's in Las Vegas from 2 days before the Tupac shooting until 2 days after Tupac dies. Doesn't that sound like somebody who's planning things and somebody who's cleaning up the mess afterwards? 2 days before to 2 days after. That brings in LAPD. He was there on special assignment with 2 other LAPD officers. That means Sharitha probably knew something about this, probably was involved. We find out that from the patents. The patents are the ones that tell us Sharitha was involved. From the patents' confession letter and their statements, we find out that David Kenner went to the meeting that was disguised as a gang summit when they were going to get permission to take out Suge and Tupac. And so David Kenner has this kind of strange relationship with the gangs where he's actually allowed to show up at their meetings. David Kenner's at a gang summit in Cabo where there's people getting jumped into the gang. Isn't that kind of strange that David Kenner would be allowed to be there at that meeting? And doesn't that corroborate the fact that David Kenner is there with Reggie Wright Jr. getting permission to kill Tupac and Suge?
Big and Pac showed me I gotta pop my disc.
And now we also remember that Daz said he was supposed to go to Vegas, but he was told by Snoop, hey man, don't fuck this up. So he decided not to go to Las Vegas the night Tupac and Suge were shot.
You think Suge killed Pac?
I don't think Suge did, because that would be stupid for him to get himself shot at while he was in the car. Because I feel like the same people that was trying to kill Pac was trying to kill Suge. You know what I'm saying? Them bullets was coming for everything in that car.
This has been episode 3 of Chaos Merchants. You can find us on YouTube. You can find it on Apple and wherever other podcasts are held. And appreciate all of you. We will try to get to the bottom of all of this. There's a lot more information to come out. We'll see how many more episodes we decide to do. And I want to make a shout out to the 6 inmates that are sitting in prison, innocent of the charges and conviction that they've received. Hang in there. There's help on the way. We're getting some traction. Some people are very interested in seeing the innocent go free that are in prison. And I stand with all innocent inmates that are sitting in prison, innocent of the charges that they've been convicted of. I also stand with all police officers that are honoring their sacred oath.